We just wanna travel the world, the world, the world, travel the world.
Ever wonder what it's like to grow up across continents instead of classrooms? Well, today we're getting the inside scoop from two teen sisters who've swapped school bells for passport stamps. Hello, ladies. How y'all doing?
Hello.
Hello.
We're
Great.
doing well. Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So tell everybody where are you joining us from today?
Nagasaki, Japan.
Nagasaki. All right. And I want to start out. Let each of you introduce yourselves. So let's go in age order.
I'm Valerie, Avella, and I'm the mom. And
Hi, I'm Vivian. I'm the older sister.
Hi, I'm Amelie, and I'm the youngest sister.
We even sat in age order. I love it. So if you could briefly tell everybody a little bit about yourselves. We'll start with Amelie.
I'm Amelie. I'm in 8th grade. I'm 12 years old. I like corsets and reading and listening to music.
All right. Hi, I'm Vivian. I'm 14 years old and in 9th grade. I really love horse riding, reading, playing piano, traveling. Oh, and politics. That I really like too.
And politics. All right. And Mom?
and I'm mom. I took them on this wild and crazy adventure. And I used to work for the FBI as an analyst and was a military spouse before we kind of went on this wild and crazy adventure.
Yes.
All right. Excellent. And who's the most outgoing?
Maybe
Oh,
me.
wow.
And we sat in outgoing order as well.
Outgoing order too. Okay, all right. Well, let's start things off with a lightning round and answer in order from youngest to oldest.
Okay.
All right. No thinking. Water, coffee, soda, or tea?
Coffee.
Tea.
Coffee.
Where do you prefer to relax? Beach or pool?
Pool.
Pool.
Neither. I don't like the water.
Hey. Cat person or dog person?
Cat.
Cat.
Well, we travel with two cats, so we have to say cat.
Yeah.
Where do you feel the most alive, city or countryside?
Countryside.
City.
City.
Okay. Unlimited free flights or a magical go anywhere RV?
Free flights.
Free flights.
Hold on. Are the
Okay.
cats included in the free flights though?
Ooh, yes.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah, the cats would love that.
Yes,
Free
they would
flights.
love a free flight.
And time machine moments. If you
Yeah.
could go with your family to witness any historical event, where and when would you go?
I think the Renaissance.
The Renaissance.
Where?
Florence.
Yeah, you've got to go to somewhere in Italy if you're going to Renaissance. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I've thought about this a lot, and I recently studied the Scythians quite in-depthly. So I would say Uzbekistan, Scythia, 600 BC, to witness the battle between Queen Mesigati and King Cyrus the Great.
You really did think about that one.
You did say an event.
Yes, you said an event. That was an event.
Yes.
It's clearly an event.
All right.
I don't really have a good answer, but I think I would travel back to my own life the first day that I met my husband and like tell myself, hey, this is all going to work out.
Aw. Okay. We got that. All right. Excellent. So now Ladies, can you tell me what a typical school day looks for you like on the road?
So in the morning, I have an online Italian school with native Italian speakers because I'm learning Italian. See, I wasn't singing that song. And then in the afternoon, I usually do homework. And then in the evening, I usually have Prisma online, but only when I'm in Europe because the time doesn't work in Japan.
Okay.
Mine's a little similar, although I don't have Italian school in the morning. I kind of wake up, I tend to do like schoolwork, homework in the morning, maybe some exercise, help out with lunch. And then later in the afternoon, I'll typically have French classes, maybe German classes, some one-on-one meetings with teachers. And then I also do Prisma online school, although I'm in high school. And so I'll just have more classes throughout the evening.
Okay.
Oh, but then that's only during the week. And then on weekends, we tend to go out and like do stuff in the place we are. So like museum, historical sites, just something from where we are.
Yeah, traditional world schooling style. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that really interested me when we were hanging out in Japan is you all got to talking about how you had your educational journey and how you ended up with Prisma in the first place. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that journey?
So I first started out in a German school on a NATO base. It was in person, and I was only there for 2 years because COVID hit, but I was bullied, so I didn't really like it anyway. And then I was put into a British school, but it was like they would give you the homework, but you wouldn't have any interaction with any peers. So Vivian and I got a bit lonely, and we found Prisma, and it really worked out.
Yeah, I mean, mine is similar. I was in the German schools for 4 years, although I had a very different experience from her. I really enjoyed my time there, although, it was a German school. It was very interesting. And then I went, also to a British school. That really didn't work out. And then now we're in Prisma, and that, has really worked for us.
So I'll interject a little bit. So the British school was a homeschooling program. So they weren't in a British school, but it was the British curriculum. And they didn't have any online classes. It just gave us the material and we did it on our own. And we did that, I think, for about 3 years. And at first it worked out pretty well, but they were younger. I mean, we were dealing with maybe third and fifth grade at that point. And it was fine, but after we started world schooling and there was less structure and there was just more upheaval in our lives and we were all together all the time,
And they were our teachers too. So
homeschooling like that in such a just an insular environment was not working out, especially as we were approaching teenagerhood.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yes, I get that. So, like, what were some of the hiccups that led you to trying to go towards Prisma instead of continue to homeschool them yourselves?
Really just, I mean, I found the British school to be very frustrating because each teacher would have a specific way and they would want you to write stuff. It was a very like strict curriculum, and you would it was all centered around learning how to write it instead of really learning the material. So maybe if you like on a test, and there were constantly tests, you would maybe get the answer right, but they would mark you down points because you didn't write it in the way they wanted you to write it. So that was very frustrating. And sometimes like the information you covered wouldn't match up to the information on the test, which was very strange. And then also, I mean, it was very lonely because there was really no peer interaction at all. So that was a big challenge for us too.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And so let's start with Amelie here. What's one lesson or subject that you've learned because of travel that you probably wouldn't have learned in the traditional classroom?
I think the one that stands out to me the most was when we were in Albania. We learned about Enver Hoxha, who was a communist dictator for a while. And he was the most Stalinist dictator in Europe except for Stalin.
Yeah.
And so he was very interesting to learn about. We were able to see the outside of his house. We weren't allowed to go in. sadly.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, he was a very interesting person.
Well, and
Okay.
I guess the society too,
Yeah.
just how unique Albanian communism was
Oh, yeah.
was fascinating.
I mean, to add on to that a little, I would say history is something that you really learn because in school, like for me, the French Revolution is something I felt like I learned a lot about. And say maybe if you're attending a French school, you would learn a lot about the French Revolution and Robespierre and the Reign of Terror and Lafayette. But you maybe then also wouldn't be learning about Japanese Buddhism or the Ottoman Empire or the Norwegian Vikings. Like you would just be learning about the French version of history. And I think also being able to go out and actually like see the sites, like see the mass graves from the Reign of Terror, see Buddhist temples, or like actually, or as Amelie said in Albania, visit a mosque. Like
Mhm.
that, I think makes it stay in your memory a lot longer, and it really makes more of an impact on you.
I totally understand that. Yeah, we've seen that a lot. I tend to focus on the animal tourism and seeing all the crazy animals that you see around the world.
Yes.
But history is a close second because you see things that I would never have learned. And I went through the entire
Right.
curriculum of in the U.S. School system, and there's a lot of things that they can't touch on because of time, or don't. So, yeah, it's a really interesting way to see the world and learn about the world.
Mhm. And especially now in Nagasaki, and we were 2 days ago in Hiroshima, like actually getting to learn about the bomb and getting to see stuff from it and how the atomic bomb and how it impacted people and just actually be there and witness it. I think it really has a big impact on you. And I mean, especially in European school, I don't think we really would have ever covered it or learned about it at all.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
yeah, that's true. So Valerie, as the parent here in this
Mhm.
situation, you've also led an interesting life yourself, but traveling these past couple of years now, what have you learned that's like either contrary to what you learned growing up or helps enhance what you learned growing up?
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, the world's changed quite a bit since I was growing up, and so, uh, yeah, things are quite different. I mean, yeah, we're learning, just as much as they are, and this, their education was the impetus for us to kind of go on this adventure, and we really gear where we go to where can we learn about significant historical events or cultural things, although animals are a big part of that as well.
For one person.
We have a big animal
Yeah.
lover, so animals are always a part of that. But one of the things that was interesting having them go through the German school system and then through a British school system was to see how nationalistic educational systems can be, and realizing like in the British system, like the American Revolution wasn't even covered.
It's just like a chapter.
It's not even a chapter. It's a mention, right?
page.
Because it's just one of many revolutions in their
Exactly.
history. It's
They
not
colonized
significant.
everything except like 29 countries.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
for an American, where most of our history that's taught in school is directed at American history, you spend a whole year on the revolution. It kind of brings to your attention, oh, so many of these things I learned were not a priority for everybody else in the world. So that's, being able to travel and talk to people and hear their stories, especially traveling through like the former Soviet bloc countries or Eastern Europe, where they had experienced communism, and hearing the two sides of the story, the pluses and the minuses. I mean, you have a much bigger picture and understanding of what people's experiences are like with different things you hear about.
That's true. That's true. And now you're doing one of the most iconic historical events there is, being Hiroshima and now Nagasaki. I'm sure that there's some stories that you've been hearing from locals as well that are changing your perspectives. So, or
Yeah,
influencing you.
absolutely. And it's been interesting too, because we spent a lot of time covering World War II in Europe. And so now
Yeah.
seeing the perspective from Japan and kind of the way they handle it and the way they address things in their museums and how different
Very
that
different.
is, It's interesting to compare that.
But also in Europe, like I don't ever really remember learning about like the Pacific Japanese part of the war. It was always like Europe. I always kind of thought, oh, it was just a small thing. I mean, you never really learned about it. And now going here, like it's like I've learned much more about it, and I never really would have in Europe.
Interesting. Okay. And so, what country would you say has been your favorite to explore so far? Amelie, we haven't heard from you for a minute, so let's hear yours first.
Um, so mine is a bit weird, but I would say France because I enjoy the graveyards. Um, because
Okay.
often the ones that are more like in the countryside, you can find some really interesting people there. Like next to one of our Airbnbs, there was the grave of a French person that was like,
A French lord.
a French lord that was like 400 years old, I believe. And yeah, so for my birthday, we actually went out and we cleaned one of the graves because the graveyard was like right next to our house.
As people do on
As
their
one does.
birthdays, yes.
And so and she looked up who he was, and that's how we found out about him.
Yeah, he had an interesting life story.
Well,
But
I mean,
the graves were dirty. You couldn't
yeah,
read them.
right. That's why we
So,
cleaned them.
yeah.
You could read it. And I think we cleaned like 3 graves in that graveyard, which is. But in France too, they don't take care of their graveyard, so there's just like bones lying about sometimes. That's
Oh,
very
wow.
interesting. And I mean, one thing we like is to see the different graveyards in different places. Like in Japan, they all look the same. In Spain, it was also very structured and orderly. In Germany, like they clean them, or they'll like, and the same in Italy, like they'll remove you at a certain point. And in France, it's just like there's no structure at all, especially in the large Parisian ones. It's chaos. There's just like graves everywhere of different shapes, sizes, colors. It's fascinating.
And in France, they'll dig you up after a certain amount of time to like rebury someone there. So all the bones are like just thrown
Wow.
out of the grave.
it became kind of a hobby during the pandemic to
yeah.
hang out in cemeteries. I see we've maybe spent a little bit too much time in that.
Well, well, when you get down to Buenos Aires, you have to check out the mausoleums and the graveyards there. They're amazing.
Now that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they are fascinating to learn about different people's culture of death. And it's a side note because I was a forensic anthropology student. So that's kind of what got them interested in this, because I worked on studying human bones and stuff like that. But we digress.
All right.
Yes.
So, Valerie, how about what's your favorite country so far?
Maybe. Well, my favorite so far.
Well, I feel like Japan has been my favorite just because we spent so much time, at least in the United States for me, and across Europe, because that's where we spend most of our time. Japan is so different from either of those cultures that it's so many things have just been eye-opening. So I really enjoyed seeing the different culture.
Yeah. Okay. I like how clean the streets are.
Well, yeah.
After living in Chicago for 16 years, which I thought is the cleanest of all the big cities in the U.S. But
Yeah. Well, especially considering the population here. I mean, there's so many people, and somehow they get everybody to keep it clean. It is amazing.
it is. It is. All right, Vivian, your turn.
Yes. So I would have to agree. I think Japan has been fascinating culturally because it's so very strange and different from anything I've ever really experienced. I mean, just like their culture, and especially comparing, like we go to a lot of historical sites, so comparing their old culture to their modern culture, like the modern culture, lots of bright lights and like these anime characters, and like they're really into K-pop here, even though that's the Korean thing.
I think it's more J-pop.
No, even K-pop, they like carry around little pictures of guys, and like even the old grandmas have little pictures of K-pop stars. So that's been just really interesting, and just like how culturally different it is from what I was used to growing up. But then for another country that I really enjoyed exploring, I would say was Norway, because I got to meet a lot of Norwegian people. I think I went to 2 Norwegian summer camps, and no, I do not speak Norwegian. We also visited a Norwegian school while we were there. We hung out with a lot of Norwegian kids because we stayed on a farm that had some younger boys, and a lot of like exploring the nature, really. Like, we really got to see a lot of the country. I mean, we saw Oslo, we saw Tromsø, we then also saw like the Arctic Circle. So we really got to fully, I feel, see Norway. And also, it happens to be one of my favorite countries. So, yeah.
That's excellent. All right. And so then we move on kind of to making friends. So obviously, one of the biggest questions before people even set foot traveling, how are my kids going to have friends? So what's it like making friends, keeping in touch with people as you travel? Amelie, you can go first.
So I'm a bit more introverted, so it's not um as big of a deal for me to make a lot of friends. I do have some good friends in Prisma, and yeah, I keep in touch with them quite a bit, but I wouldn't say that I'm too lonely or anything. Like, I do enjoy talking to locals and just people that we meet. So I don't have an issue with making friends, but
What
I
do you
think a lot of them I do make for my school.
How do you keep in touch with them?
Um, through messages or Gmail. Or when I was in Europe, we did the live session, so I would call them a bit. But I do prefer to make animal friends, but they are a little bit hard to keep in touch with.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. All right. Ooh, Vivian, how about you?
Yeah, I would say mine is very different. I mean, this has been one of the main, at least for me, one of the main problems with world schooling. One of the things I rather quite dislike is I find it very difficult to make friends. I mean, I'm very extroverted. I like to hang out with people. I like to make friends. I like to talk to people, but I find it's very difficult traveling to make friends and then keep in contact with them later. Like, maybe you'll go to summer camp, you'll make a few friends, but if you're not like, hanging out with them, like maybe you'll message a few times after summer camp and maybe on holidays, but you really won't talk and ever really is what I found. So, and I mean, like at Prisma, yes, I've made friends, but a lot of students at Prisma only stay for a year or so. And then, they leave. And then it's the same as with summer camps. Like, if you're not around them all the time, there's not quite as much to talk about. And I think, so yeah, for me, that's been quite a big problem, I would say. And I've really struggled with that. But it's been better in Japan because we've been meeting a lot of locals and we've been very busy. So, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about your experience with the World School pop-up hub that we just finished.
I would say yes, I enjoyed that. I liked being around people and I liked that there were other teenagers there, but also I would say probably not going to keep in contact with most of them because once again, you're just not around them all the time. So
Yeah, that can be a difficult thing if you're not like super clicked in with them really good. Like some people can become instant best friends and stay in touch, and it's not in everybody's wheelhouse to be able to do that though.
yeah.
And the same thing goes for us adults. Like Valerie, how
Mhm.
have you found keeping in touch with your friends from before you started traveling?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I have a couple of close friends still in the US that we have busy lives, so I don't talk to them very often, but we maintain contact probably every month. But it's not easy to make friends. I mean, obviously, if you when we were living in one place pre-pandemic, you have a lot of friends and a lot of contacts. But we kind of knew going into this that we would not have that same social community. And we were okay with that. I think it's been much more difficult for Vivian, especially as the girls are approaching teenagerhood. They want to hang out with their peers. It's a finding their tribe is a big element of that. And so it's kind of you have to balance the how important is the socialization with what they're learning. And you kind of get to a point though, I feel like a little bit like we're at the point of no return in terms of a traditional school because like, where do we go and what school do we put them in and what grade level do we put them in? And they're going to feel like an outsider in a lot of situations.
Well, and also there's the problem of language, and she wouldn't really want to return to public school. And at least in Europe, it's really not allowed in most countries to homeschool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A lot of
Yeah, especially there
complication.
in Germany. Yeah, I know that in Germany for
Oh, yeah.
sure.
Right. Germany would be, at this point, the only country where I would speak the language and be able to attend public school. So,
Yeah. And so, no, you wouldn't ever want to go back to a regular school, Emily?
My plan is to go to a regular university, but until then, I don't think that I would want to go to a regular school. I didn't have that great of an experience when I first went to one, and I just feel like I have built somewhat of a community in my two schools, so I'm happy for
Yeah.
now.
She also likes sleeping in late.
yeah.
Yeah, that is a benefit of online
Yeah.
school. But Vivian, if you had the opportunity to go to high school or college in person, would you take that opportunity?
Yes. I mean, my plan is this year to start applying to boarding schools. So, yes, I would not want to go to, say, public school, but I would love to go to a boarding school and hopefully an IB school, International Baccalaureate, because currently I'm in an American school, and so all what I can get is an American diploma. And my goal, of course, is to attend a European college, and that won't get me quite as far in Europe. So, yes.
Okay, I hear that. Yeah, we're looking right now at potentially even getting our masters. Both Brody and I have masters, and we're looking at getting them certified in Ecuador because then we could even move down there and even get residency down there if we wanted to. So
Really
even if
cool.
you have a U.S. based degree, you can get them recertified in certain areas and certain places as well. So keep that in mind. So, what's been the most surprising or unexpected part of full-time travel? Let's start with you, Vivian.
I mean, really not that many surprises. What I would say is something that surprises other people is they're always like, how do you adapt? How do you, and I mean, a big thing they are confused about is how do the cats adapt? And it's like, the cats were a little stressed out the first few months, but they're fine. I mean, they really don't. At this point, I think like they don't like to go in the carrier together, but they do enjoy getting, at least one of them really enjoys getting to a new house because he's like, ooh, new stuff to explore. Maybe I can try and go outside. Maybe there's a rodent I can hunt. Maybe there is new food or something. So he quite likes that. And for me, people are always like, how do you adapt? And it's like, really not that hard. Like we find we just start to get bored of places. And then
Yeah.
also like the packing, they're like, how do you travel with stuff? And it's like we just don't own that much stuff. Yeah, I could
Have
just
either of you
live.
gotten temple fatigue or museum fatigue or any of that stuff yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Museums, mainly museums.
Yeah.
Depends.
Is it I
Yeah.
find it a little bit easier when I find a museum that has translations. If it's all in their specific language and I have to use the Google Translate or something, it's not as fun
Yeah.
for me. But if I don't have to pull up the phone to translate, then I find that I enjoy it a lot better. So, but
We've not
yeah,
really been to a museum like that. At least in Japan, all of the signs have been in English. And
Not all of the signs.
almost have all been in Japanese and English. And in Europe, almost everything is in English.
where do you go to South America? There's a lot of
Yeah.
places where it's
Yeah.
all in Spanish.
You can
So.
imagine.
Amelie, any really cool experiences, unexpected things that you've come across as a traveler?
Um, well, one experience was in Greece. Um, well, I'm not sure if you've been to Greece, but if you're like relatively tall, you do stand out, especially as a girl. So we went to a museum, and my parents were like, "Oh, 2 adult tickets and two tickets for children," because I believe I was 11,
10.
10. Okay. And the lady at the counter was like, no, no, a dog ticket. And they were like, but we have her passport. We can show you that she's 10. And she was like, no, no, a dog ticket.
For some context, we were very large. Like she was 10, I was 12. We were very tall compared to the small Greek ladies. I mean, she was about as tall as she is now. She looked kind of similar. Maybe her face looked a little younger. I was also about as tall than my face, slightly younger, but quite similar. So yeah, they took like in Germany or the United States. I mean, that's kind of the food we had lived in. That's the culture we previously grown up in a lot. Like we were kind of regular height. But here in Greece, and I think in Japan too, they took one like
Same
this. And
thing,
like,
yeah.
no,
Yeah,
no,
that
I
happened
don't
to
do
us in
that.
with you, Vivian, when we went to the museum with you. Your parents weren't
Yes.
there yet, and they wouldn't let you get the child rate. You had to pay the adult rate
Yeah.
because of how tall you were. Yeah.
Well, we had an
So
even better lost in translation situation in Japan where we went to another museum and we told them, okay, we have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. And I think they were two different prices. And, or the children or students were free or something. And so we give them the passports, we show them the date of birth, and they say, okay, yes, 14-year-old free, 12-year-old adult price. We're like, what? And like, we show the passport again, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And then they said, oh yes, she 14 free student, her adult price. I'm like, we're like, okay, whatever, that's fine.
yeah, interesting, interesting. All right. Well, how about any weird experiences, culture shock from traveling around? Either of you have any of that?
Culture shock.
I would say weird experiences would be a lot similar to what we just experienced. Actually, when I was hanging out with you, I had another one in Japan where when
Oh,
we were at the board game cafe, I walked up to the bar because I was going to order some drinks, I think. And there was this lady standing there and she was like, oh my God, I really love your outfit. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. And then we started talking and she was telling me about her life and I was telling her about mine and how we travel. And she was like, so what's your job? How do you afford to have this lifestyle? And I was like, "Oh, I'm 14. I'm not paying. I'm not working." She'd be like, "Oh my God, wow."
Well, she was also like, where are your parents?
Yeah, and then she's like, "Where are your parents?" And I was like, "Oh, my parents just dropped me off
they're at
here."
home. Yeah.
They dropped me off at this bar.
Yeah.
So, and now some of our listeners are listening to that, and they're like, "Oh, so how do you give them freedom? Like, what kind of freedom do you give them
I
while
mean,
you travel?" Now, I know it might have been a little different during the pop-up hub, but yeah, if you could give us your thoughts.
Well, that was one of the things we were looking forward to in Japan because they've been looking to kind of get out and have more independence. And this is a very safe country. They actually, as they've mentioned, they look like adults here. So they kind of blend in and they don't stand out as children traveling on their own. And even in Japan, there's so many children traveling on their own. It's not a big deal. So we've been able in Tokyo, yeah, we told them, we gave them a budget and we said, hey, you can go out and go shopping together on your own. You can ride the train. Once we kind of navigated the system with them, she's very good at navigation, so we don't have too many worries. We trust them. And so they went out on their own sometimes and walked around the city or went to a cat cafe or went shopping. And it was a great experience for them in a pretty safe environment to just gain that independence. And I'm hoping, yeah, we can take that back to us to Europe a little bit, that they'll maybe feel more confident, maybe going down to a cafe and on their own, kind of adulting, doing a little bit of adulting.
Very good. Yeah. How are you ladies liking the freedom that you're getting in Japan?
I would say I like the freedom. We haven't had that much freedom because like there's really, I mean, we're very busy always, so there's really not always the time to just be able to go out on your own. I think in Europe there's a lot more of the time to go out on your own, but we typically just don't take the freedom because it's like, where would we really go? And also in
Uh-huh.
Europe, we don't have a budget. We don't have any money with us. So it's like, okay, I can go wander around the city, but then I just have to kind of stand there awkwardly. Like,
But we kind of discussed that, like from this
yeah,
experience. Oh, maybe giving you a budget and having you be responsible for purchasing your own clothes and your own shoes and, figuring out, yeah, the things you want to spend in. Here's the amount of money you have to do that every month and figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Emily? How are you enjoying some of this freedom?
Um, yeah, I think the same that Vivian said. I'm enjoying it. Um, I do agree that in Europe, we don't have as much of an opportunity to.
I think
Yeah,
it
it's
depends.
fun.
It
I
depends
mean,
on
like,
well,
say but also in Europe, we stay a lot in the countryside because, typically we have
Yeah.
Prisma, so we're rather busy. Like, sometimes we'll stay in big cities, but then when we do stay in big cities, we're typically rather busy, so we just don't have the time either. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure some of the parents out there are wondering, like, since you travel all around a lot, you've got different perspectives. What are your mm, what are your ideal days like? If you could do whatever you want, or you've got your school during the day, so like express what your ideal day has been like with school, with travel, exploration, all of that. So like from wake up to go to sleep. What's each of your days look like?
So for me, I would like to get up at like 10. Um, and then I guess get ready, um, to my Italian school because I do enjoy that. Um, then I would probably like to do something fun in the afternoon, like go horse riding or maybe go shopping. And then Prisma again because it's a really fun school. And then I would probably go to sleep at around like 11 or 12.
what happened to food?
Oh, and food, yeah. Okay, so um, ideal food. That's really difficult. um,
But just how many times would you eat?
Yeah. How
okay,
many?
so breakfast,
Yeah.
mid-morning snack,
Yeah.
lunch, mid-afternoon snack,
She's a
late
hobbit.
afternoon snack,
It's
dinner,
Hobbit. Mhm.
and then like
Supper.
midnight snack.
Yeah.
Mhm. She'd live the life of a Hobbit.
Yes, yes. All right. So Vivian.
Mine would be very different. I'm very into structure. So I mean, at least in Japan, I've taken more control of structure. And so I get up at 7. I then spend like the first half an hour reading. Then at 7:30, I get up, I exercise, I do skincare, I get dressed, do makeup, eat breakfast, and then it's like maybe 8:30 to 9. I then like to do some maybe math, some work in the morning. I mean, an ideal day is different from a realistic day. So in an ideal day, I would agree. I'd like to go shopping, horse riding, maybe in the afternoon, possibly the morning. Realistically, I probably do mostly schoolwork, maybe go for a walk, probably exercise, um, do a lot of reading. I would tend to help make lunch. She helps out with dinner because of our classes. And then, yeah, throughout the evening and maybe later afternoon, I would tend to have just classes for the evening.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, one thing
Cool.
I think that our listeners should take from that is that it's the same thing as I say for us adults when we're traveling. Your life is still your life. It's the same. I do the same similar things that I did back in Chicago. I
Mhm.
work, I work out, I go eat, I might go sightseeing because even in Chicago there was always things to do. So I went out and did the parks and did the museums and whatnot. I do that same thing, but just in a different country every time. And so you ladies, it sounds like your school days are very similar to what it might be if you were still back home. One's more structured than the other, but that's okay. So it's just in a different location.
I think the big difference is that like, since our school happens in the evening and we don't have that many classes, like maybe just a few hours, we kind of have complete control of what we do. So if we wanted to go out in the morning and like visit a historical site, like we would have the freedom to do that. If we wanted to take a nap in the middle of the day, like we could do that. We could eat whenever we want. Whereas I think in regular school, you don't have the freedom to control what you do and really form your own structure in life how you want to. So that was, I think, nice.
Okay. Do any of you, this goes out to all three of you, do any of you get homesick?
I think that we spent so long on the road that it feels like I don't really have a home. Like I left the US when I was 3. I don't remember anything from it. And we lived in Belgium for a while, but I don't feel like I really connected with the community there that much, that it felt like if I were to go back there, that it would feel like my home. I think it would have just felt like another place that I would have lived. So no, I would say no.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, similar thing. I really don't feel nationalistic or like I have a home really at all. I mean, like this, and this only applies to me and this family I know. The only like community I would really miss would say be the German school that I went to because like I had friends there, I had hobbies, I had a very good time. But I think by the time we had left Belgium, we distanced ourselves so much from that community that like there really wasn't anything to go back to after that. So no, I would say there's no like homesickness because I mean, any place I've lived, I wouldn't say I would particularly ever want to live there again. Like,
Okay.
you know, not part of world schooling. And it's not like I miss it. I feel very like I think like a global citizen, I just like to or see the world and kind of yeah, there's no like feeling like you're part of a culture at this point.
Okay.
So, unlike their life, I did spend about 35 years of mine in the United States. Although I did move a lot even as a child within the United States. And no, I'm not homesick for the United States. We really enjoy, I mean, I think we feel like Europe is our home at this point.
Yes.
They feel European, but not
Any certain country.
any certain country.
Like, you know, there's countries in Europe like, oh, I'd like to live there, but it's not like
right.
you know, we feel like a part of that country.
And I guess that's one thing that will be interesting to see play out in their life. I mean, as they say, they don't feel like they belong anywhere. It's very difficult when people ask us when we're on the road, where are you from? Because
Wow.
we don't have a good answer for that.
Because Amelie and I, we were both born in the United States, but we only lived there for 5 years. And so, like, we have citizenship, but it's weird to say, hey, I'm American because neither of us have been there in 9, 10 years now and really don't know that much about it. It's just like,
Well,
but we also have Italian citizenship, but say she feels comfortable saying, hey, I'm Italian, but I don't because I don't speak Italian and I don't
Well,
have
I
that
can
much of a
also
connection to
like if someone says, where are you from? And I say I'm from Italy, like I can speak and I speak enough Italian, I could hold a conversation with some if they start speaking Italian to me. But for like everybody else in the family, they don't speak Italian. So I think it's pretty weird for them to say that they're Italian
right.
if they don't really speak any Italian and they don't have any like connection to Italy.
we have to assess whether we
Yeah.
think somebody speaks Italian
Like
before
it-
we
like
tell
in-
them we're Italian.
Yeah, it's like say we're in Italy, would probably say, "Oh no, we're French or we're German," because like I can speak German, I can speak French, she
But
can
we
speak
don't say
French.
that.
Sometimes we do, because those would be the only countries I would feel comfortable.
I would say it will be interesting, as I said, to see how their life unfolds, not having roots in a particular place and not feeling like they belong anywhere. I mean, that can come with some negatives and it can come with some positives. So we'll see. I mean, yeah, it is an awkward thing to answer, where are you from, when we're not really from anywhere anymore. And as they become adults, you know, whether they decide to settle or kind of keep this lifestyle and how they introduce themselves to people, it's an interesting situation.
It's also interesting because everyone in the family would like to say they're from a different country. So
Yeah.
We'll have to ask you that question again in another 10 years and see where it is at that point.
Yeah, exactly. It will be an interesting question 10 years from now.
So, do either of you feel like travel has changed the way you see the world and your place in it beyond what we just talked about?
I would say that I feel like the world is a lot more, I'd say since coming to Japan, I realized that it's a lot more different and a lot similar than I thought it is. I also realized that I'm not that much of an important person in the world. My life is relatively short, and I guess live life to the fullest and making impact on some people's lives.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely had like an impact and changes your perspective. I think, especially learning about history and seeing the different cultures. Um, yeah, I mean, that also might just be growing up, maturity. I mean, we've been doing this for nearly 3 years, but I think it certainly changes how you see people, see the world, and see cultures, and especially like once you study history, seeing what's happening now is interesting.
Yeah.
I think I remember before we came to Nagasaki, I was reading the tales from people who have lived through the atomic bombing and have dedicated their life to peace and trying to denuclearize the world. And this one particular woman had made a comment to the effect of, I really want people to meet others from a different culture and learn about them and see that we're not that different. And I think traveling, you can kind of get into in your normal everyday, you get into what's going on online and what the news is and what's on social media. And it tends to be very negative, and you can get this perspective that everybody's against you or people don't like you or different people from different countries. And when you travel and you're just out in the world, you realize the vast majority of people are not terrorists, not criminals, don't want to rob you. That they all are looking for the same things you're looking for out of life. They're genuinely nice people everywhere you go. And I think that, I try to point out to them to ground them, particularly with all this social media out there, like ground yourself in reality, and look around. Most people are good people. And that's just what life is really like. And it can kind of get overtaken by what you see going on in the world online.
Yes, it can. It can. And you can get jaded so easily if you're not careful.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So, before we start to wrap up, I do want to give you a chance to really tell people about Prisma and why it's so amazing. Like, if you want to again kind of like give them a shout out since they've been so helpful in your education.
Prisma, I think, really gives you the ability to study what you want, and it's a very modern school, so you really can choose what you want to learn about, and it gives you a lot of freedom, especially like coming to Japan. I reached out to the head of high school, Lena, and I said, hey, so I can't do the Prisma classes, but I'd like to continue doing math if that's okay with you, and just not attend the online classes. And I was wondering if I could somehow get a literacy credit and maybe an East Asian culture credit. And so we set up this system. She said, sure, if you could find some books to read for literacy, write books reports on them, and the same for East Asia. And then also for East Asia, I have to write a blog every week about kind of what we're experiencing, the differences, just the culture. So I think it's very flexible. And I mean, the teachers are like basically your friends. I mean, one of my best friends is my math teacher who is like really into cats. So that's really great. And he also likes to hear about all of my travels. So that's really nice too.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, the community in Prisma is really great. As you said, the teachers are wonderful. They're so nice, and they're your friends. And everyone's just so open-minded, because I would say that Prisma is kind of a school for the people aren't that don't really fit in with the normal society. Like, there are lots of people, like I have someone in my class that lives on a boat and does something similar, travels the world. I have people in my class that were bullied too, and I mean all sorts of people. So like it really it's a very open, diverse community, and they're so accepting of people.
That's true. I mean, I do talk about Prisma a lot because it like totally changed our world schooling journey, but I don't work for them and I don't get any kind of financial kickback from them or anything. But we were at a sad point in our world schooling when we started looking at different schools to go to, and we ultimately said, okay, let's try Prisma. And at that point, I mean, she was pretty unhappy with the way things were going and was pretty introverted and not really interested in school. And I think within 6 months, like we literally had a 180-degree person. I mean, she was outgoing. She was volunteering to participate in things at the school, to take on leadership roles. She was, doing math on her own. I mean, and now we're at a point where she is structuring her own day. So it really helped give her, I think, the motivation she needed and the socialization that she needed in this environment of world schooling to kind of keep us going. So I think finding something like that, a program like that, if you're on the road and you've got someone who's missing socialization, is a key element. Is always, and in general, just adapting to whatever the new circumstances may be as you go along. You don't have to stick with whatever you started with. And so yeah, it made a big difference for us.
Yeah, that's a glowing testimonial for sure. Awesome. All right. Now, I always like to kind of wrap up with with some travel trivia. And so I figured y'all might like this. Feel free to discuss amongst each other, but
Okay.
all right. What sweet Italian treat is made by churning milk, sugar, flour, and cream and making it nice and dense and rich? Not ice cream, but
You're an
Gelato.
Italian person.
Gelato.
gelato. Yes.
Gelato.
Anybody got a favorite flavor?
Chocolate.
Chocolate, yeah. I recently tried lychee in Japan, and I love lychees, so that was really nice.
I like that chocolate fondante, the dark chocolate.
Or
right.
cherry.
Coffee.
Coffee flavored, yes.
It's not too many.
Coffee everything.
Yeah.
All right. What is the name of the Japanese art of folding paper into decorative shapes?
Origami.
Origami. It's easier to
Yes.
guess than to do.
Yes. She tried some today,
Yeah.
and she had to quit.
Yeah.
The best origami I can do for you is paper airplanes. Does that count?
It's more than I
Yes,
can.
that counts.
All right. What tower was the tallest man-made structure in the world when it was completed in 1889?
What tower is the tallest man-made structure?
In 1889.
Oh,
Eiffel Tower.
Oh, Eiffel Tower.
All right. Very good. I didn't even have to give you the country.
We just went to the World Expo in like a few weeks ago in Osaka because it just started, and the Eiffel Tower was for the World Expo in
Yes. All right. What is the name of the traditional Spanish rice dish often made with saffron, seafood, and vegetables?
Paella.
Yeah.
Yes. Very good. Spent any time in Spain yet?
Yes.
A lot.
We spent quite a bit of time
3
in
months.
Spain.
Just this last winter, and 3 months. Maybe it's like 2.5 now. Next winter.
Yeah, we really enjoyed
Yes,
Spain.
we like Spain.
All right. See if we can get 5 for 5.
Okay.
What Japanese city is famous for its deer that roam freely
Noah.
and bow to visitors? Yes, Nara. How was your Nara experience?
Wonderful.
Yes, we enjoyed it.
They were so cute.
But we'll tell you a little side note about those deer. They have those same deer on Miyajima Island across from Hiroshima.
The one with the water
I mean,
shrine.
but you're not allowed to feed them. They don't sell food
But
to
they'll
feed them.
feed themselves.
But we watched, they are very aggressive. And this older Japanese woman, I mean, one of the she had an ice cream in her hand and it bit her arm and was like thrashing it around until she dropped her ice cream on the ground and then it ate her ice cream.
It was huge. And then we got
my.
ice cream because
Yeah.
we had been on our way to ice cream when we saw that. And so
Yeah.
we got ice cream right after that. And we were sitting there and we saw it. We had tried to sit away from the deer, although she had chosen to stay closer. We saw the deer approaching. We were like, oh no, oh no. and we had to just run to the other side.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were
Oh,
scary
boy.
deer.
Yeah. So beware of the
They
Japanese
were
deer.
not Nara deer. They were
No.
not Nara deer.
Mm-mm.
They didn't
Yeah,
even
I only had
bow.
one issue with a Nara deer, so most of them were nice, but I only had one issue with one of them. So, all right. Top 3 coolest places you've ever studied something in real life.
In real life.
I would say like Paris.
Turned out Lafayette's grave.
Yeah, Lafayette's grave and the mass graves, which are right next to that from the Reign of Terror.
Nice.
Yeah.
You have a
Top 3.
favorite?
It's difficult. There are lots of good options.
Yeah,
can go
that
next.
is. I mean, I think being in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and like standing where such a horrific thing happened, and to see the photos of a place being completely demolished, and then be walking around a completely rebuilt modern city. I mean, it really is. It's amazing, and also that things don't stay the same, and places do recover, and it's been eye-opening to be here.
I'd like to say on a side note though, I can think of 3 of my own places where I feel like I really studied it. Bosnia, the Bosnian War is a sign that places not always recover in a normal amount of time because especially in Mostar on Sniper Alley, where you still have, abandoned buildings with bullet holes in them. That's really interesting. Or even in Sarajevo, there's still bullet holes around and
Well, not as much time has passed.
Oh,
yeah. It's been like 30 years.
It's been longer since Hiroshima.
Right.
Yeah.
That would
I mean, for mine, I would say the 100 Years' War was something that I've been interested in, mostly Joan of Arc. I love learning about her. So I believe we went to the church in Reims where Charles XVI was coronated.
Yeah.
And so that was interesting. And I spent a lot of time studying her. So that would be mine.
All right. Okay. We'll go with that. That sounds awesome. And all right. One more lightning round. Fast 5 European edition.
Ooh.
Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Pizza.
Eiffel Tower or Leaning Tower?
Leaning Tower.
Eiffel Tower.
Leaning Tower.
Eiffel Tower.
Okay. Train rides or flights?
Trains.
Flight.
Siesta or sightseeing?
Siesta.
Sightseeing.
And since you're in Japan, gelato or mochi?
Gelato.
Gelato.
It's so dumb on beans. That's all there is.
Oh, there's more
Yes,
than
that's
beans.
all there is.
Yeah, it's sometimes Amelie. It's oh, this looks good, and oh, there's beans inside.
She's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
chocolate. Oh no, it's
No, it's beans.
Oh, it's
Yeah. I mean, I personally really like the rice dango, but that is, yeah.
all right. So, any closing thoughts about what you would say to kids or teens who are nervous about traveling full time with their families?
I would say be prepared. Some moments may be pretty stressful. Um, and make sure that you like your parents a lot because you will have to spend a lot of time with them and any siblings that you have. Um, and make sure that they're not too crazy.
Hey, make sure your parents aren't too crazy
A little crazy is
or
fine.
just a little crazy. All right. Vivian?
I would say it might be very lonely. It might be pretty tough, and you might struggle a lot. But I think in the end, you might come out, you probably will come out better and more educated, more cultured, and you will have a better understanding of the world. And I think it will give you a huge advantage in your professional life in the future.
All right. So, yeah, both very good points. You'll have that advantage in the future. You get that culture. You will be in tight spaces with your family. You guys have not yet had to go RVing around yet, have you?
No.
Hopefully,
No.
never.
Yeah.
That's an interesting experience.
I can imagine.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time. It was great having you on today.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah.
I hope and I think our listeners will really get enjoy hearing a perspective from y'all because it's not often that you really get to hear from the kids themselves. And maybe when you've grown up, you'll tell your story. But during and hearing your story as you're growing it's a unique experience. And I hope you all listen back on this as well in the future because you might hear, oh, this is where I was, and now this is where I am, and that type of thing. And to our listeners out there, this is one example of a family who is traveling from the kid's point of view for the most part, and your kids will turn out okay. They're not going to fail just because you're traveling, trust me. So on that note, it was great again having y'all on board, and maybe we'll talk again in the future as your travels settle down too, or something else crazy happens. So
That's cool. Well, thank you so much
Yes,
for having
thank
us
you.
on.
Yeah,
It was
this was very fun.
it was great to do our first podcast.
Yes.
yay! All right, take care, everyone, and see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We just wanna see something bigger than us, to see and smell and taste something completely new. We just wanna travel the world.